Now, the City of Johannesburg says it is rather concerned by the number of attacks on paramedics recently. This comes after the emergency management crews were attacked while attending to emergencies. The city says it cannot afford to have no-go areas. And to talk to us more about this, we're very pleased to be joined in studio by our favorite emergency services management spokesperson, Mr. Robert Mulaudzi. Robert, a very good morning to you.
Good morning to the viewers out there.
Well, Robert, thank you so much for joining us. Happy long weekend. But I know a lot has been happening in your sector these days with of course, with the recent attacks. Talk to us about the morale of your staff, particularly during this long weekend.
Yes, Alicia, the attacks are actually creating, fear and panics amongst, us as emergency services personnel, because every time now when you have that emergency, you don't know whether, you will be able to come back in that incident unharmed. It's so very, very painful from our side. It also affects our, response times, because now when we respond to these emergencies,
you have to think about your safety
we have
first.
to think about our safety first, which is really unnecessary. That is the reason why we're saying our communities need to, work with us so that we can be able to, remove, because we believe that these are just criminal elements within our communities, of which communities can be able to identify them so that they don't have to suffer by, not receiving, these essential service, emergency and fire and rescue services throughout the city of Joburg. Yes.
Talk to us, Robert. What actually happens to these crews? Talk to us about some of these attacks.
Most of the incidents, I would say, from last year, the beginning of the year up until the last weekend, I will say on a weekly basis, we receiving, getting incidences where it's either paramedics are attacked, robbed, or it's either they are hijacked, and also the equipment within the vehicles is, taken, and also their belongings. So it's really sad, because it takes us back, because every time our communities, they always complain about the shortages of resources.
Yeah.
And you find out that they still, like for instance in Honeydew, around February, they just decided to, throw stones on the ambulance which was passing. Some, people who were intoxicated in the area just decided to do that, and the ambulance was damaged. That ambulance was out of service for a number of days while it was still being repaired. So we do have a shortage of resources, and then on the other side, our communities, they're actually destroying the very same resources, limited resources which we have, and also they're actually hating the very same people who have raised up their hands to say they want to service, the communities out there. It's so sad. So from our side, there's nothing much we can do. Somebody once said that maybe Mulaudzi must just go for some self-defense classes or martial arts classes. And then for me, being in the service for so long, I don't think that it will work, because if for instance there's an emergency, we are responding to an emergency, we are not really concerned about guns and other things. We are concerned about the life of the person we are responding to. So for us to be now attempting to do all this kind of training, it's not going to assist us. So we believe that the communities we're servicing, the people we're saving out there, they are ones who have to take these responsibilities. Because of course, already in the community, Alicia, there's already your street committees, there are already CPFs which are operating in the area. There's community leaders, there's councillors who are in the area. I think they need to take charge of their communities, because these are their communities. They cannot allow situations where criminal elements are taking over their communities.
Robert, I think we've spoken about this. I'm not sure if it was 2 years ago or something. I think at that time you had spoken and made a proposal to the minister to even have escorts, because I think at that time the incidents were happening during the festive season. But has there been any headway on making sure that at least paramedics go with a police escort whenever they attend?
Actually,
particularly the no-go areas.
Yeah, actually, that time, when we did that initial interview, we had a problem with mostly in our hostel areas. So what we've actually done a lot of work in those areas, because we actually arranged for, the indunas in the area, community leaders in those areas, and we had a number of meetings where we were received very well in those communities. So now we're seeing a lesser number of incidents in those areas. What's concerned us now, Alicia, is that we're actually getting these attacks in more of the suburban areas. Like, for instance, on Saturday, we had one of our ambulance was shot at in Sandringham. And then the other attack was 4 of our paramedics were attacked in Freedom Park, while they were trying to assist this lady who was badly assaulted by her loved one. So unfortunately, when our resuscitation efforts were unsuccessful, then the angry community decided to attack the boyfriend who attacked the lady.
Goodness.
And then in the process our paramedics were also hurt in that process. So it really is creating, because we don't want a situation where, Alicia, our paramedics will say that no, it's either they leave the service or they don't go to emergencies. I mean, there's nothing much you can do, because you cannot really send people to go get hurt or go and die.
So what are we proposing, Robert? I mean, who should be taking care of your safety? Because you guys, your job is to save lives.
From our side, we're saying our communities out there, they need to make sure that we are safe, because it's now we're going to have a situation where we'll highlight areas. We'll say we're not going to go to Freedom Park, we're not going to go to Deep Slope, we're not going to go to Kaya Sand, whatever areas which we know that they are deemed to be dangerous for us. Then who's going to suffer? The old lady who needs our service in Deep Slope, the old lady who needs our service in somewhere in Orange Farm, in Freedom Park. You understand? So we don't want those kind of situations. So we still believe that working together with our communities, we can create safer communities throughout the city of Johannesburg.
But if you had police escorts, would that assist in any way, or would that also hinder?
But the issue is, you'll see that now. Let's just make a practical example. Let's look at Chabulani. Yeah. Let's say in Chabulani we've got like 5 ambulances which are operating at night. Now it means that each and every time when those ambulances are running like 24 hours.
Yeah.
So each and every time that ambulance leaves the station, it needs to have a police escort. And then what about the police officers? They still have their own, work responsibilities to do. Yeah. So you can't have a situation where every time when the ambulance leaves the station, there needs to be a police escort. It's not feasible. I mean, even our communities, they know about that. And maybe they're just taking advantage that they know that we don't have any other, can't say any other things of which it's not necessary for us to have that, because we're out there. Because the very same criminal elements who are doing this, when they're injured wherever they are, we don't discriminate who is. We still help, we still assist them. So I don't understand why when we are responding to an emergency, you find out that there's a service delivery protest. People are complaining about whatever, electricity and other things. The fire engine is passing there. They attack the fire engine. Like for instance, in Zimhlope, they actually banned the fire engine. That fire engine is about like 4-5 million rand, including the equipment. They destroyed it. So the following day, there's a fire incident in the area. What is it that we're supposed to use to respond in that area? We don't have resources. So people can't be banning things. Every time they've got complaints. Somebody might say, "No, Mulaudzi, you guys, you are late. You come late." And but we're saying that with the limited resources we have, we still are prepared to respond to those emergencies. Absolutely. And nobody out there is allowed to attack us because he or she feels that no, you arrived late. That is not the reason, because we're saying, over and above the shortages we have, we're making sure that our communities are empowered. We've got our public education section where we know that while our communities are waiting for us to respond, at least they can be able to do something, because we've got those community emergency response teams in those areas. So there's no reason for us to be attacked.
All right, let's talk about the no-go areas, Robert. Can you name some of those, some of the hotspots that have been labeled no-go areas, and how are you currently getting access to those areas if you have emergencies? Yeah,
like for instance, now we had that incident in Freedom Park, we had another incident in Sandringham. We have another incident in Ekenhof. You remember in Ekenhof, actually the ambulance was actually hijacked and it was used in a robbery where they went on and robbed an old age home or place of safety, in the area. So those are some of the things we don't really need in our communities, because these resources, when they get stolen, like for instance ambulances, they get used to, people go out and do wrong things while they commit crimes while they're using our resources. So from our side, we're saying we are relying on our communities to assist us to be able to render the service. Otherwise, then they will have to bring the patients to wherever we are, which is not going to be feasible. I mean, you can imagine most of our areas is like informal settlements. We're looking at about 187 informal settlements throughout the city, of which they're actually far away from our fire stations or service centers. So you can't be bringing the patient to us all the time. whereas we've got resources which you can use to actually come to where you are. So it's very important. But from our side, we're taking advantage of community meetings which are being held in our communities, where we're going out
and talking to
our community to say, we've got a situation here. What is it that you can do to us to remedy the situation before we take the step which is not going to be good for...
To say we're not going to come and render services in that area.
Exactly, yeah.
All right. Well, Robert, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And of course, I know you're going to be busy for the rest of this long weekend. Let me release you and hope that you are safe. Thank you so much. That was, of course, Emergency Services Management spokesperson, Mr. Robert Mulaudzi, talking to us about the recent attacks on paramedics. While we're